All right, welcome back, CME students. Today is day one of our week two of the iExcel summer program. And today we have two special guests. We have Professor Clark and Mr. Kennedy here to teach us all about college math, what to expect, and how to prepare. So without further ado, I welcome Professor Clark and Mr. Kennedy. Take it away.
Okay. Is there a preference who you want to start?
I think Professor Clark, is that if it's fine with you to start,
Okay.
and then Joe can speak more into how to access tutoring and support from CME.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my PowerPoint. Let's see. Is it working?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So my name is Professor Clark, and I'm one of the professors in the Foundational Mathematics Department. So at CCP, we have the math department is kind of split into two departments. So you have your foundational department, which includes all of your prerequisite courses. And then there's the mathematics department that you'll eventually take courses in if your major requires them. So at CCP, we have 4 developmental courses right now. So we have 16, 17, 019 is kind of like a combination of 16 and 17. And we have 118. So based on your placement test, did they already take placement tests?
Some might have. I'm not sure if all did. But yeah, the students, have you all taken placement tests? Thumbs up if you have.
Placement test is like when
You talking about, oh, go ahead, Richard.
Oh, you're first.
I was just gonna ask, like, what you mean by like placement test? Like what, like the SATs or something like that?
So usually at CCP, and it might be different now because of the pandemic, but they had students would come in and take a placement test, which is like our AccuPlacer, and it would let you know what level of math you were in and what level of English you placed into.
Oh no, I didn't take that.
Okay. So they may be going based on your high school classes. Not quite sure, but eventually you'll get placed into, if you're doing the foundational courses, you'll get placed into one of these 4 classes here, unless your scores are high enough to place you directly into the credit bearing classes, which is in the mathematics department.
Okay.
Yeah. So most students, when they start, were placed into 16, which is like the first level. And so this is the first level, 16, and then you would either take 17 next, or you could take 19. Although I imagine that you would take 17 because it's less credits, but some students like 019 better. If you place into 16, you can go straight to 019, but this is a 4 credit course. So while these are 3 credits, this is 4 credits. So that means 4 hours a week instead of 3 hours a week. But the benefit is if you do 019, you're knocking 2 of these courses out in one shot. So instead of taking 16 and 17 separately, you would just take 019.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What does FNMT mean?
Foundational mathematics.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Does everybody understand the difference between taking these 2 courses separately versus taking 019 to account for both of these courses here?
Oh, yeah. I want to know this. So the 019, that's pretty much 16 and 17, pretty much all in one, and you're gonna get 4 credits for that. Okay, I got that. But it's if you do choose to do one set, each separately, you do let's say you do 16 first. That's a total of 3 credits. Then you go ahead and knock out 17. That's another 3 credits. Ain't that a total of 6 credits after that?
That is correct. And so these credits are technically, even though we're calling them credits, they're non-credited courses. So although there are 3 credit hours, those credit hours aren't towards your graduation goal. So it's more expensive to take 16 and 17 separately because you are paying for 3 credits and then an additional 3 credits versus just paying for 4 credits one time. However, if you are taking 019, you have to recognize that it's going to be a little bit more challenging because you have 2 courses combined in one. So if you think that maybe math is not so much your strong point and you want to get a little bit more foundational, then you might want to take them separately, 16 and 17. So after you finish either 16 and 17 or 019, then you will move into 118. So 118 at the college is like our gateway course, right? So as long as you finish 118 and you pass that, you can get into all of your other math courses once taking 118. This course does count towards graduation. So 118 is considered credited, but it's only credited at CCP. If you're transferring to Temple or Penn or Drexel, they might not accept 118 as a credited course.
Sorry to interrupt. They will not accept it as 118.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just making sure because things change all the time. So I never want to make finite statements. But if that's what Joe's saying, then go.
Yeah, no 4-year school will accept 118 as a college math course. In fact, that's why it's even in the foundational math section, because it's literally not considered a college math course except at CCP.
Right.
May I say something real quick?
Yes.
Yeah. On my spreadsheet for the class I take, that's actually the class that they put me in.
118.
So I thought that was the beginner. Yeah, 118. I thought that was like the beginner course.
So it is technically a beginner course because it's in the foundational department. It is in foundational mathematics. It's not in the other mathematics department. So it is a more of a beginner course, but it's the last one in the series. Did I answer your question? What'd you say?
I was about to say, so then after it, so what's after 118?
Well,
Do I just go to 19?
No, 019 is before, because notice that these ones have zeros on them, and 118 is a 100 level course. So once you take 118, it would depend on your major to see what other math class you would take next, if necessary. And that would be in the mathematics department. So you would no longer be taking courses in the foundational mathematics department.
So which of those 4 classes will you get like credits for, like actual credits towards graduation? And
so the only one that you're going to get actual credit towards graduation at CCP is FNMT 118. But in order to get to that course, you either have to place in that course, like the gentleman said, or you have to take the previous courses.
Got it.
Does everyone understand the flow of the foundational courses?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
They, I'm just throwing this out there. They also said, this was what one of the counselors told me when I did the placement for CCP, is that it also, depending on your GPA, will determine which class you take too.
Your GPA? You mean coming into college, you shouldn't have a GPA, right? Or unless you're transferring?
No. So I'm sorry. This is so as when I was doing the sign up for CCP with the Cato Scholarship and everything.
Okay.
They were talking about how you don't have to take the placement test, but you can if you want to use your GPA or what was it?
From high school.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So that's what they might be doing now in lieu of the AccuPlacer because of the pandemic. And so that's different. I'm not sure exactly what scores you have to have on your GPA has to be in order for you to place into 118. That would be more of the placement side of it, the administrative side of it.
I do have a question.
Yes.
So the placement test is like was the one that had been taking places that we were living, or the ones that we graduated to high school?
So the placement test is just a test that tells you what levels that you placed into, like what level of math that you currently should be placed into and what level of English you should be placed into based on questions that they're giving you. Like, I don't know how long the test is, but like it's a general test. And when you take it based on how you answer those questions, they populate where you are best to be placed in. But I think there's an option now with the pandemic, we've had to transition where they're going off of your GPA from high school. And I think they're going also off of the the high school classes that you took and what grades you got in those classes.
Okay.
As we transition back to campus in the fall, things may change how they're deciding what sections to put students in. So everything is making changes because of the pandemic. So just keep your eyes and ears open for information. They'll definitely let you know when you go register for classes, what level that you need to be registering for.
Okay.
Any questions about these courses? No?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. So there's like about 4 different type of courses in the math department. So thankfully, we're going back on campus in the fall. So there will be some professors in our department that are working in the fall on campus. So that will be a modified, smaller classes because of the coronavirus. And those will be in person, just like normal college in-person classes. Then we have asynchronous online courses and synchronous online courses. Does anybody know the difference between the two?
Asynchronous from experience is when you're able to work at your own pace, like you can work by yourself. But if it's synchronous, that means you have to be in the class, like active and participating and being able to send the work in on time.
Yeah. So if you're in a synchronous class, if you just got if you're just finished high school or you were taking your high school classes during the pandemic, if your teacher said you had to be logged on at 9 a.m. for your math class and you had to be there, that would be considered synchronous because you have to be logged on at a specific time and participating in the course. If you choose an asynchronous course, much like the student gentleman said, is that you could do it at your own pace, but you must meet the due dates. For example, if your due dates are Friday, you could do all of your assignments throughout the week as long as they were done by Friday. And you wouldn't have to log in at a specific time to go on to Zoom. So that's the difference between asynchronous and synchronous. It's very important to recognize which learning style is gonna fit best with your situation, okay? Depending if you have a job, if you have children, if you're watching your parents, whatever the case may be, you wanna make sure you actually pick the right class for you. If you think you're gonna slack off or procrastinate, do not choose asynchronous because it's very easy to procrastinate in that because nobody is holding your hand, right? It's college. And so they're gonna say, hey, this is the due date. If you don't have it done by the due date, that's it. It's gonna be a 0. If you want synchronous, you'll actually be able to see a live professor on Zoom or another video platform, and they'll be helping you, and they might give you reminders because you're gonna be seeing them more often than you would be seeing an asynchronous professor. Is that clear, the difference between the two?
Yes.
Okay. So I always advise students to take the synchronous course if you guys have the schedule that permits, because it's always better to be able to have that live teacher there. So if you have questions, you can get your questions answered immediately. I know you guys do have Joe, who's fabulous. And so I know he'll be helping you guys too. But if you need that extra support, I always say choose the synchronous. And before you choose the synchronous, make sure you can make that time commitment. So when you register for classes, it will say the time of that class. So make sure that that's a good time that you're going to be able to meet if it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday class. And then there may be some hybrid courses where that would mean that some of it would be online and some of it would be in person. Like maybe you do most of it online, but then you have to come in to take your test. So we're still working with that right now currently, but there may be some hybrid courses as well. And these will be noted when you're registering for classes. So you'll know the difference between an in-person, an asynchronous, and a synchronous. If you don't see any times and it's an online course, it's asynchronous. If you see a time slot, that's a synchronous course.
I do have a question for
Yeah.
the
Sure.
link that you show us.
Yes. Oh, this one?
Yeah. So for on campus is for learning how to and get into CCP on time. That way, to be in person to what is the for in person like to on campus to CCP?
Yeah. So in person means that the class is like a traditional college class, like you would have expected it to be before the pandemic hit. You would come into class, your professor would be waiting for you at the front of the room, and your professor will be teaching you. And you'll come in every time that the class meets in person with the professor, and you'll have classmates that will actually be in class with you, not online.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so for synchronous online course, it's like what we're having classes around in real time. We should be able to get on Zoom on time on a fall or is on a CME.
So synchronous online classes, they utilize Zoom currently in the math department. And so you could Zoom on your phone or you could Zoom on a computer. If you don't have a computer, they have a loaner laptop program at CCP. So you're able to get a loaner laptop to use throughout the course of the semester as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we kind of went over asynchronous courses already. So, with online courses, it's very important to make sure you log in and you're checking your work and you're communicating with your professors because you want to make sure that you're doing everything that you're responsible for completing. So we at the college use Canvas. Not sure how many students you guys are familiar with the Canvas learning management system, but that's what we use. And so you can get everything in Canvas. You'll have your messaging. You can message your professor in Canvas. You can complete your homework in Canvas, tasks and discussions in Canvas. So Canvas, you want to check at least once a day because you want to make sure that you didn't miss anything or any announcements were sent. And that's going to be very helpful to you, especially if you're taking an online course. Okay, this is the biggest one. How many of you guys knew that you could not use calculators for any of the foundational courses at CCP?
You mean it's like for the test?
For anything.
Oh.
Did anyone know that? This new information?
I'm not even gonna lie. That's a little bit rough, man. But no, didn't know that. I expected it for the test. That you can't use it on the test, but you can't use it on a regular classwork assignment either.
No calculators. Not in classwork, not on homework, not on tests, not on quizzes, not on anything.
Well, Jesus Christ,
Question. Does this also go for accommodation students?
This also goes for students with accommodation.
Okay.
Yep. Currently at CCP for accommodations, there are a host of accommodations, but calculators has not been added to the list. So this is a big shock to a lot of students who come to CCP, like no calculators, right? Now, if you were in my high school class, when I taught high school math, my students didn't get to use calculators. So they weren't that shocked when they got to CCP. But if you had a math teacher that allowed you to use the calculator, now it's like a big shock when you come to CCP and you have to do every single individual calculation without a calculator. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, fractions, decimals, everything by hand. Yes.
My bad. I was just gonna say I like when it came to like calculators, depending on like the assignment, I don't even really I ain't never really need a calculator. I just really only use the calculator just to confirm my answer was right. That was it, really.
But you know who can confirm if your answer is right?
Who's that?
You. You know how to, because there are ways to confirm your answer depending on what type of problem you are doing. So you can actually confirm if your answer is right. And that's some of the things that we teach in these foundational courses. But yes, it is a big shocker that there are no calculators. And believe me, we know when students are using calculators. How we know is because we'll see students get perfect scores on homework. I mean, beautiful work, right? And then we take the test in person or on Zoom, and guess what happens? That same person that got that A on that homework or that A on that other assignment now has a terrible grade on their quiz or test or assignment that had to be done in person or on Zoom.
Another thing, sorry to interrupt, another thing you can tell when a student uses a calculator, it'll be a really difficult question. They'll get the right answer. Then you'll say, that's great. Now explain to me what you did step by step to get to that answer. And when they can't.
Right, absolutely. Or it'll be a very easy question and a student will have a very hard explanation, like an explanation that I never taught, which can be used. But if I've never taught it and you can't explain it, then I know you've gotten that from using one of those like math apps or something like that. So we can tell. So don't try to play us because we know. Okay. So the thing that you could do this summer before starting is to kind of like boost your math skills up. Try doing some, basic math, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, fractions and decimals with no calculator. And if you want like little practice sheets, if you let me know, I'll put my email in the chat. And if you want me to email you some things you can use for practice, I will. But that might be something that you want to try to do for the time that you have. Oh, someone said, can you repeat how we can confirm the right answer? Oh, someone said, yes, you can't use the apps or the calculator, no electronic devices. It depends on what type of problem it is that you can confirm what your answer is. So when we're working on different problems, I'll teach you how to confirm your answer based on the type of problems we're doing, because they're different for each class.
So we have to do the math test instead of using calculators because it's called cheating, right?
Well, yes, it's not just cheating, but the goal is never just passing. The goal is understanding, right? So in order for you to understand, you have to be able to show that you can do it without the use of a calculator. If the calculator is doing all the work, then the calculator deserves the grade, not you, right? So we want to make sure you actually understand, so that way when you go to your next course, you're able to use those skill sets in order to pass your next course. So that's why we have the no calculator rule at CCP, but really it's no electronic devices. So no, you cannot use like the math apps and the phones. And currently, no, we do not cover logs we don't cover them in 16, 17 or 019.
Yeah, that's in math 162.
Right.
Oh, in 161.
Right. We don't have those in the foundational courses. Okay, so this is a big one. This is usually the one that a lot of students are shocked about, is the no calculator. So I would just suggest that you guys practice over the summer, get some, use some worksheets. Like I said, you can email me and I'll send you some things. We have Khan Academy, which you might have used in your high school classes. That's completely free. And you can use that as well to practice your skill set. But yes, that's no calculators is a big one. So just keep that in mind when you're taking your courses.
Like the foundational math, just basic math that we learned in high school, right?
Yep, exactly.
So now I understand why no calculators. We should know this.
Exactly. You'd be surprised, right? Because a lot of the stuff that you think it's like, whoa, I haven't done this in a while. So now I'm, without a calculator rather. So now I'm confused or I need a little bit of help. But yes, you should know this material. Absolutely. If you went through 4 years of high school and you did math classes in those 4 years, then yes, you should know this material.
And plus it should be easy for me to, cause I forget, but then when I get refresh on it, I remember. But
Right. That's yeah.
for me, it's like I've been in higher math classes like algebra 2, and I haven't did calculus and stuff, but I think my highest was algebra 2 or geometry.
Right.
So to really know the base stuff.
Yeah, so this might just be like a refresher. And then once you see how the procedure is done, you might say, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing. And you'll have a little bit of an easier time than maybe another student, which is good. You always want to have that knowledge coming into the course if you can. But don't worry, because as professors, we are here to help you. That's what we get paid to do. So we will make sure that, the class makes sense, right? We're not going to just come in and teach at a higher level. We're going to teach to where the course is at, okay, depending on what course you get into. So obviously, how to succeed in math, it takes hard work. You want to keep an open mind. You don't want to memorize. Everyone wants to memorize, but then what happens is that you lose that so quickly. And then once you go have a nice summer, have a good time, and then you come back in the fall for your next math class, and you're like, I have no idea what I just did. So the goal is to understand, not memorize. And you want to make sure that you talk to your professor. We are here to help you. So you want to communicate with us, because if we don't know what the problem is, how can we help you, right? So maybe you don't want to tell us if something is too personal going on, but just letting us know that you're having personal issues does help us at least figure out how we can, help get you through those issues plus the course, right? So it's very good to talk to your professors. You never want to wait to the last minute. You don't want to wait till an assignment is due to then tell the professor you have no idea what's going on, right? Because then they're maybe not going to be as nice about helping if you wait until an hour before the due date, right? So it's best to start early, see what the assignment is, and then if there's something that you don't know how to do, then you want to communicate with your professor.
One other thing with that, also with tutoring as well. I tutor for CME. Don't wait till the last minute to get tutoring. Like if you're because I can often tell when you've been struggling all semester long and you come to me, let's say it's a 15-week course and you come to me at week 13 saying, well, I need help. And it's like, and as we're going through everything, there have been times where I had to go chapters back just to get a student to understand where they're supposed to be at that moment. So don't wait till the end of the semester. Don't put that off either. Get help as soon as you think you're having a problem with something, because it gets really difficult the longer you put that off.
You hear that? That's amazing advice, because not only does that help us as a professor, it's going to help you as a student to get tutoring early. And I suggest, if you have it in your schedule, just sign up for tutoring once a week, right? So that, because you can even just like feed off of things like, hey, I understand this, but can you give me some additional practice problems? I'm sure Joe probably does not mind making up some fun practice problems for you, right? So
one other thing, also with CME, with me and CME, you don't have to sign up. You can literally just email me and call me, and during my shift, if I'm not tutoring anyone else, I can hit you up right away. And sometimes outside of my shift, I also can help you out as well. So if it's like a Friday, we're technically closed Friday, but if you're stuck and I'm free, I can definitely help you out. So that's another advantage. So take advantage of this as well. I do off hours tutoring, and just as a side note, outside of CME, I'm really expensive. So, and I'm free. So take advantage of this, all right? And again, I'll put my info into the chat so that you guys can reach me as well.
So you hear, that's very, like, you have no idea how much it costs to actually seek a private tutor, right? It's very expensive. So here you have the best of the best here to help you, willing to help you. So you want to make sure that you utilize those services. The best thing you can do for yourself is make sure you utilize all the services that your tuition is covering. And there are a lot of services. I'm sure throughout the next week or so, or if you've already heard about the different services that CCP offers, utilize those services because your tuition dollars are paying for them.
What if we do memorized?
So yeah, there's some things where, hey, memorizing, right? Like a lot of students say, I memorize the divisibility rule, right? And because it helps me. Fine. But the general rule is you don't want to just be memorizing, because then that information is in your short term like log, it's not in your long term log. So if you're just memorizing, you're not really understanding what you're doing, and therefore you can't put it into practice when a situation may be the same thing but look different, right? So it's best to try to understand instead of memorizing.
Okay. How much it costs for?
Oh, well,
What's it called again? The what is the called thing that you said about the
oops,
uh
that wrong.
um root Druger that called him?
Who?
What do you said again about the that Joseph said about the Druger?
I'm not sure. Joseph, is there something you remember?
About what? About tutoring? Oh, okay. I just
Yeah,
pasted my
tutoring.
info on the chat.
Okay.
Oh wait, wrong email. Ah, crap. It's jk29 at student.ccp.
Yeah, Richard, Joe put his information in the chat for the students. So copy Joe's information down. Joe will be
Actually, I
available.
resent it. Because I realized it was on Richard privately. That was
Okay,
my
okay.
mistake. Yeah, I
Oh, no
resent it.
problem.
Yeah, it's right there. So yeah, get in touch with me.
Yes, call Joe, email him, and let him know he's available. Listen, he works well with all of us, all of our students. Again, don't wait until it's too late. Early. And actually, we have something where it's going to be kind of mandatory to get tutoring at least once a week. So we'll talk about that a little later.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, some of your professors, depending on who they are, may give you extra credit for utilizing those tutoring services. So it also can be an incentive to go to tutoring, because not only are you getting the help that you need, but you're also getting extra credit towards your overall average. Okay, so obviously we know we have to put in hard work, right, to yield the results that we want. So of course, you want to make sure you're working hard. You want to make sure that you are staying on task. If you have like a calendar you use, some people like to use their phone, some people are old school, they like to write it out. But it's important to make sure you know all of your due dates and your assignments. So that way you don't miss anything, or you're not coming up to the day of the due date and then something happens. That's the biggest thing, right? These unforeseen circumstances, where something will happen, and then we're looking for an excuse, like, oh well, this happened to me on Friday at 9:00 and my assignment was due at 10. So can I have an extension? No, because your assignment was available to you since Monday, right? You chose to wait until Friday, an hour before the due date, to complete your assignment, and then something came up. So you give yourself enough time to deal with those unforeseen situations. And believe me, as a professor, I've heard every excuse under the boat of everything you can think of, right? Even parents dying twice. So please make sure that, yes, please make sure that you have, your materials and everything ready to go, so that you cannot come to your professor with these excuses. Yes, things happen sometimes, right? And your professor will know. If you're not a student that's always trying to get away or get around something, they probably will make an exception for you. But if this is something that they're noticing, like this is a track record that you're having, they're probably not going to be, able to help you. So just make sure you work very hard and you stay dedicated with all of your courses, not just your math courses. You want to keep an open mind. You don't want to shut down. That's the biggest thing that students do, is they see everything like the first week and they shut down. Like, I can't do this. I'm not good. I'm not a math person. How many people have said, I'm not a math person. I don't do good in math. Math is not my favorite subject. I'm horrible math. I'm a horrible test taker, right? They sound familiar. We hear this all the time, right? And if you keep an open mind and you practice, it will be a lot easier for you. right? LeBron didn't just get a basketball and all of a sudden he's LeBron James, right? I'm sure he spent many of days practicing his drills and everything that it takes to be a successful basketball player. Math is the same way. If you practice it and practice it, you will get it. But it's about, are you going to take the time to actually practice that and hone in on that skill, right? No one is just, no one's just born like coming out and they're like, oh my God, this is Albert Einstein, right? This person was actually working very hard to get to the point where they understood different levels of math, right? It's not just, it's very possible to be a great math student here at CCP and beyond CCP. I've had plenty of students who started in my developmental class go on to be nurses, which takes a lot of math to be a nurse. Go on to have business people, go on to have successful businesses, and they started in a foundational course. So by no means, just because you start here, that has to be your end, right?
I did.
Yeah, okay, exactly. You want to share your story? I don't know.
No, I started at 118. A foundational math course. I remember when I got placed there, I was like, I was good in math in high school. This is going to be easy. Wrong. I struggled the first half, realized, okay, I got to step it up and I got to work at it. And like Professor Clark says, you do have to work at it. I tutor, and some students think this looks easy, but no, it takes sitting down, paper and pencil, and really just doing problems. That's the only way to learn this stuff. It's just doing the work. So yeah, so don't feel bad about that either, because everyone starts somewhere. Like I said, I started at 118. And now I can tutor anyone up to Calc 3. So again, we all start somewhere.
Right. So you see, like, that's a great example. That's a great example of how you can start at a class in a foundation department and, right, be this amazing math person, right? So that could be you, right? So just don't limit yourself to saying that you are not a math person. You never know. I mean, I had students in CME that I started with them when they were in the CME program when it was on campus, and we had our little math course that we used to do. I think it was like 2 weeks. And now they've like excelled and left CCP, but they were in high level math courses and they were doing great. So, you know, just keep an open mind. We talked about this, but find the reasons, don't just memorize. And I'm gonna send this PowerPoint, so they'll send it out to you if you want it, so you can go over it on your own. Obviously, never give up, right? Math is hard. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say it's easy, right? It can be difficult depending on what the topic is. But if you do that practice and if you're getting that tutoring and you're doing all your work, it is possible, very possible. So just make sure that you are trying to do a little bit each day. If you have 20 to 30 minutes that you're not doing something, run through some practice problems, you know, keep your brain activated. Even for myself, I notice if I'm not doing math problems for a little bit, I start to forget things. And I am a math professor. I have to go back over things and think, oh my God, I haven't used this since I took my college class, which was 10 years ago, right? And I have to go back over it and refresh it. So it's a skill, right? Everyone has to keep practicing. So just, you know, never give up and keep going. Reading the textbook is very important. A lot of students will buy the textbook, but they don't read the textbook. Why are you going to spend $80 to have something sitting and be a nice, you know, paperweight on your desk? You don't need to spend $80 for a paperweight, right? Read your textbook. The textbook is very detailed and it has examples, practice tests, practice quizzes. It's a lot of good stuff in your textbook. And I will give you a secret. I actually take the problems from the textbook a lot of the times. I'm not going to tell you which problems, but they come from the textbook a lot. Read the textbooks. Someone said $80. Yes, textbooks are expensive. Textbooks are expensive.
Oh, and the regular math ones are like 200 and I think 75 or 250, something like that.
Oh my, yeah, they're expensive.
And this is a good time to also mention that CME, we do have the ability to assist with book purchasing. Not saying we can purchase all books that you need and everyone's books, but we do have the ability to assist those in need. So just keep that in mind.
Right. And I know the college was, with some of the pandemic money, helping students who needed additional help. I'm not sure if that money has run out or what's going on with that, but I did have some students who were able to utilize that for their textbooks. Yes, but the good thing about the math courses is, and this is really important, if you want to first figure out who your professor is, because there are two types of courses that we have, which we have Alex, which is one system, and we have MyLab Math, which is another system. So some professors choose to use Alex, and some professors choose to use MyLab Math. And if whatever track you start with, you should end with. And the reason being is because it can save you money. If you purchase a longer span of weeks on Alex, it'll be, I can't remember the exact pricing because that's not the system I use, but it will be a lot cheaper to purchase like 52 weeks on Alex than purchasing it separately every semester, because then you can use it throughout. If you have MyLab Math, which is a Pearson product, you can pick a longer period of weeks. And so if you know you're going to take your classes back to back, then it's just a cheaper option to just pick the longer span of weeks, right? So that's something that you can talk to your individual professor about. But the difference is that you couldn't go from MyLab Math to an Alex course and expect to just have the same code. That's not going to work. So for students who want to save a little bit of money, they tend to pick a professor. They may be teaching multiple courses, like maybe a professor that's teaching 16 and 17, because most likely they're going to be using the same type of book. So that's something to keep in mind. Right, talk to your professors. We want to help you. So maybe you can just, you don't have to share out now. I'll let Joe take over, but maybe you can just think about one goal you want to accomplish in your math course this semester. It doesn't have to be a big goal. It can be a small goal, but maybe just one goal and write it down. That way, when you finish your first math class, you can go back to that goal and see if you accomplished it or not.
Oh, okay. I guess I should say something. All right. How many people are taking math classes now? Wait, I don't know how.
I'm not taking them now, but I have signed up for a math.
Okay.
That's not even registered for my classes yet.
All right. All right. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So, all right. So as I said this before, that's my contact info. So if you want to either get started taking some practice stuff before classes started, or if you're already enrolled in a math class, and that's for the students that didn't answer as well, do seek tutoring. All right, so just there's my info. Don't hesitate to hit me up. I'm available, like I said, all hours, especially during the week. Monday through Thursday, I'm pretty much available all day. My schedule time is from 11 to 6, but if you hit me up at 9 and say I need help, I'll get up and we can get started then. Or if you hit me up at 7 in the night and I'm free, I'll even help then. So just definitely get help as soon as you can. All right. That's basically all I could say.
Does anyone have any questions for either one of us?
Yeah, so we have to go up to the professor that we shall say.
So real quick, Richard, before you start, I'm going to end the recording so we can freely speak about any questions we have. Cool?
Okay.
All right, give me 1 second.